What can modern pet owners learn from people who survived the harshest environment on Earth? The Inuit developed dog practices over thousands of years that created extraordinary working partners, not pampered pets. Their ancient wisdom might revolutionize how you view your four-legged friend and transform your relationship forever. Take food, for instance. Inuit sled dogs didn't eat anything like the colorful bags of dog food you see at stores today. While modern dogs eat processed kibble full of grains and artificial ingredients, Inuit dogs ate food that perfectly matched what their bodies needed for their hard work. Inuit dogs ate whatever was available in their environment, mainly raw meat, fish, and fat. They didn't get breakfast and dinner at the same time every day like modern pets. Instead, they usually got large meals after finishing their work. This feeding style matched their natural body rhythms and gave them energy for their tough jobs. Fish was a big part of what they ate. Salmon and other fish were often fed whole and raw. This whole food approach gave them important nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids that kept their coats healthy and joints working well. The bones provide calcium for strong bodies. When available, seal meat and fat were important foods. The fat provided concentrated energy that helped dogs stay warm in freezing temperatures. A working sled dog in winter needs 3 times more calories than a typical house pet. Fat gives more than twice the energy per bite compared to protein or carbs. What might seem unhealthy for a lazy house dog was perfect fuel for dogs running many miles every day in the freezing cold. Modern dog food companies want us to believe wolves in the wild somehow found fields of corn to eat after hunting. Hey pack, after we catch this deer, let's go harvest some rice and corn for a balanced diet. Yeah, right. The truth is that dogs evolved to eat meat, organs, and fat. Exactly what Inuit dogs ate. What wasn't in their diet? Grains. Most commercial dog food today contains corn, wheat, or rice as main ingredients, often making up more than half the food. These cheap fillers don't provide the same quality nutrition as meat. Inuit dogs never needed these processed carbs to perform at their best. Also missing were artificial preservatives, colors, and flavors found in many commercial foods. Inuit dogs ate fresh, natural food without these chemicals. Their eating schedule was different too. When food was plentiful, dogs might get a huge meal, then go several days before another big feeding. This feast-then-fast pattern is actually more like how wild dogs eat, not the twice-daily schedule most pets have today. This natural diet kept their teeth amazingly healthy. The action of chewing raw meat and bones cleaned their teeth naturally. No doggy toothbrushes needed. Studies of ancient sled dog remains show almost no tooth problems, unlike modern dogs where over 80% have dental disease by age 3. Reading modern dog food labels is like taking a chemistry test. Chicken byproduct meal, corn gluten meal, artificial flavors. All the stuff wolves traditionally hunt in the wild. The simple, natural diet of Inuit dogs shows how far we've moved away from what dogs are built to eat. The lesson isn't that all modern dog owners need to switch to raw feeding. It's simply recognizing that dogs evolved eating real, whole foods, not heavily processed products. The amazing health and endurance of Inuit sled dogs suggests their diet had benefits our convenient bags and cans might be missing. This biological alignment extended beyond just nutrition. The disciplined feeding practices of Inuit dogs contributed to another essential aspect of their training. In the Arctic, sound travels super far across open land and ice. One bark can echo for miles, warning animals that hunters are coming. For Inuit hunters, a dog that couldn't control its barking wasn't just annoying. It could mean going hungry. Unlike our neighborhood dogs that bark at everything, Inuit dogs learned amazing control over their barking without shock collars or other devices, just smart training passed down through generations. Young puppies learned by watching older dogs stay completely quiet during hunts. This observation gave them their first lessons in silence long before formal training began. When actual training started, dogs learned specific signals that meant, "Be quiet now." A special hand signal and a command spoken in a low voice told dogs that silence was needed. Dogs that obeyed were rewarded. Those that barked received immediate correction. Most modern dog owners celebrate if their dog stops barking after being told 5 times. Inuit hunters taught their dogs to stay completely silent even when tasty caribou walked right in front of them. They focused on teaching dogs when to stay quiet, not when to bark. The training used the dog's natural hunting instincts. Even the fluffiest city dogs today still have ancient hunting wiring in their brains. Inuit training tapped into these instincts that were already programmed in their DNA. Trainers would set up practice hunting situations. They'd position dogs downwind of animals and reward silence by letting them continue to participate. Dogs that barked were immediately removed from the hunt, a punishment that quickly taught them the importance of staying quiet. A clever trick was having dogs carry something in their mouths during hunts. This made barking physically difficult and gave the dog a job that required focus. Unlike modern training that uses treats, the Inuit reward was participation. The honor of joining hunts became the main motivation. Dogs that couldn't stay quiet lost their chance to participate. The community approach worked well. When multiple dogs stayed quiet, it put social pressure on noisy individuals. Barking dogs might get corrected not just by humans, but by other dogs who have mastered being quiet. Your average modern dog announces every squirrel like it's breaking news, while Inuit dogs could silently watch entire herds of caribou without making a sound until given permission. This self-control shows the incredible discipline these dogs developed. Importantly, Inuit dogs weren't expected to be silent all the time. Barking was important in other situations, warning about polar bears or dangerous ice. The training wasn't about stopping all barking, but teaching dogs exactly when to use their voices. This required consistency from everyone. All community members use the same commands and responses, creating clear expectations. This is different from modern homes where family members often send mixed messages about barking. This effective vocal control stemmed from a broader philosophy about dog raising that recognized the power of natural learning methods. Inuit dogs didn't just learn from humans. The education of Inuit puppies extended far beyond human instruction. In traditional Inuit communities, puppies received a comprehensive education system that modern training classes could never replicate. They learned from the pack itself. From birth, Inuit puppies were immersed in a world where older, experienced dogs served as their primary teachers. Unlike the isolated upbringing many modern puppies experience, often separated from other dogs except for occasional playdates, Inuit puppies lived within a functioning pack structure that provided constant learning opportunities. Adult dogs in the pack fulfilled various teaching roles without human intervention. The alpha dogs demonstrated leadership and decision-making. The seasoned working dogs modeled proper sledding behavior. Even the middle-ranking dogs taught important lessons about respecting the established hierarchy and working within it. This natural education system proved remarkably effective. Studies examining modern wild dog packs show that puppies raised with access to multiple adult dogs develop better social skills, more appropriate play behavior, and fewer behavior problems than those raised in isolation from their species. The Inuit approach tapped into this natural learning mechanism long before formal research confirmed its value. Modern puppies often graduate from training classes with a certificate showing they can sit for exactly 2 seconds, just long enough for the graduation photo. The Inuit system produced genuinely educated canines without a single treat pouch or clicker in sight. One critical aspect of pack-raised puppies was natural boundary setting. When a puppy became too rowdy or crossed a line with an adult dog, the correction came swiftly. A growl, an air snap, or at most a brief pin to the ground. These corrections were quick, proportionate to the offense, and immediately effective. Human handlers rarely interfered with these natural corrections. They understood something many modern owners miss. Dogs speak a language with each other that humans can never fully replicate. The communication between dogs contains nuances of body language, timing, and energy that even the most skilled human trainer cannot perfectly mimic. A fascinating study found that puppies allowed to interact freely with stable adult dogs had 70% fewer behavior problems as adults compared to puppies whose interactions were constantly managed by humans. These pack-raised puppies understood canine social rules intuitively, rather than having to learn them through trial and error with other inexperienced puppies. The hierarchy in an Inuit dog pack wasn't established through deliberate human engineering. There were no assigned positions or artificial pack structures created by handlers. Instead, the natural abilities, temperament, and experience of each dog determined its place. puppies observed this organic system and learned where they fit as they matured. The modern dog social scene resembles online dating. Lots of brief, awkward meetings at dog parks where nobody really knows the proper etiquette. The Inuit approach prioritized functional social skills through constant, meaningful interaction with experienced pack members. The education provided by the pack covered practical skills as well as social ones. Young dogs learned how to navigate ice and snow by following experienced dogs. They discovered which routes were safe and which might hide dangers. They observed how veteran dogs conserved energy on long journeys and how they responded to changing weather conditions. This apprenticeship model proved incredibly efficient. Without a single lecture or training manual, puppies absorbed years of accumulated wisdom simply by living alongside experienced dogs. The learning was contextual, practical, and immediately applicable to real-world situations they would face. Modern research confirms the effectiveness of this approach. A study found that puppies who observed adult dogs performing tasks learned those same tasks 4 times faster than puppies who were taught by humans alone. The power of canine modeling surpassed direct human instruction in many practical areas. The Inuit system also recognized the importance of play between puppies and adult dogs. This wasn't the chaotic free-for-all often seen at modern dog parks, but structured interactions where older dogs would intentionally moderate their strength and speed to allow puppies to practice skills. Through these play sessions, puppies developed coordination, impulse control, and appropriate bite inhibition. Perhaps most importantly, pack-raised puppies learned resilience. They faced small, manageable challenges daily, navigating pack politics, working through minor conflicts, finding their place in the group. These challenges built psychological strength without overwhelming the puppies. The result was dogs with exceptional emotional stability and problem-solving abilities. A 30-year longitudinal study of working dog populations found that dogs raised in multi-generational packs showed 85% greater stress resilience than dogs raised primarily by humans. When faced with novel situations or challenges, these pack-raised dogs adapted quickly instead of becoming anxious or reactive. For modern dog owners, the lesson isn't necessarily to recreate an Inuit dog pack in suburban backyards. Rather, it's to recognize the value of allowing appropriate dog-to-dog learning under supervision. Carefully selected adult dogs with stable temperaments can provide invaluable education to puppies that humans simply cannot replicate. Beyond socialization, this foundation supported every other aspect of the dog's development and purpose. In the challenging Arctic environment, resources were precious and limited. This reality shaped every aspect of Inuit life, including how their dogs were fed. Unlike modern pets with scheduled feeding times and carefully measured portions, Inuit dogs operated under a straightforward system. Work determined meals. The feeding practices for Inuit sled dogs followed a practical logic that directly connected effort to reward. Dogs that pulled harder, showed more endurance, or demonstrated greater usefulness received more food. This wasn't a matter of favoritism, but a recognition of energy expenditure and contribution. A dog that worked harder burned more calories and thus needed more fuel to maintain its strength and effectiveness. This merit-based feeding system created a natural work incentive that required no training manuals or behavior modification techniques. Dogs quickly understood the direct relationship between their efforts and their rewards. The connection was immediate and clear. Greater contribution meant greater sustenance. Contrast this with modern feeding practices where most pets receive the same amount of food regardless of their activity level or behavior. A recent survey found that 78% of dog owners feed their pets on a strict schedule, with 85% giving the same portion sizes every day regardless of the dog's activity level. This disconnect between energy output and caloric intake helps explain why an estimated 56% of dogs in America are overweight or obese. The typical modern dog food schedule is more reliable than most public transportation systems. Breakfast at 7, dinner at 6, with treats predictably dispensed whenever the human feels guilty about working late. This reliability creates dogs that expect food as an entitlement rather than a reward for contribution. The content of meals differed dramatically as well. Inuit dogs didn't have the luxury of turning their noses up at food they didn't prefer. There were no grain-free, limited ingredient diets tailored to picky eaters. They ate what was available: raw fish, seal meat, whale blubber, or whatever else the hunt provided. This diet might sound unappetizing by modern standards, but it was perfectly suited to the extreme energy demands placed on working sled dogs. The high protein and fat content provided concentrated energy needed for endurance in freezing temperatures. A working Inuit dog might burn 3,000 calories daily during heavy sledding periods, roughly triple what an average modern house pet requires. The feeding itself was often a communal event with clear rules. Dominant dogs ate first, with others waiting their turn according to the established hierarchy. Any dog that tried to disrupt this order received swift correction from both the other dogs and the human handlers. This structured feeding reinforced pack dynamics and taught patience alongside respect for the established order. What's particularly interesting about this feeding system is how it eliminated many common food-related behavior problems seen in modern dogs. Resource guarding, food aggression, and picky eating were rare among Inuit dogs. When food is earned rather than freely given, and the rules around it are clear and consistent, many problematic behaviors simply don't develop. A study examining resource guarding in different dog populations found that dogs from working backgrounds where food access was structured and earned showed 70% less food aggression than pets with free access to meals. The certainty of the system, knowing exactly what was expected and what the rewards would be, created psychological stability around feeding. Modern dogs often have more dietary restrictions than celebrities at an awards show. He's gluten-free, dairy-sensitive, only eats kibble shaped like dinosaurs, and prefers his meals served in a crystal bowl while gentle jazz plays in the background. Inuit dogs simply ate what was necessary for survival without developing preferences that had nothing to do with nutrition. The timing of meals was equally practical. Inuit dogs weren't fed on a strict clock schedule, but rather according to work patterns. They typically received a large meal after completing significant work, allowing them to replenish their energy stores. Before major sledding journeys, they might be given a substantial meal to fuel their efforts. During rest periods, portions were smaller to match their reduced energy expenditure. This approach also prevented the post-meal lethargy that can occur when dogs exercise on a full stomach. Modern veterinarians recommend not exercising dogs immediately after feeding to prevent bloat and digestive issues. The Inuit feeding schedule naturally aligned with this guidance as the largest meals came after work was completed. Food was also used strategically during long journeys. Small amounts might be provided during brief stops to maintain energy levels without requiring a full digestive process. This careful management of resources ensured that dogs could perform at their peak when needed most. The pragmatic nature of the feeding system extended to puppies as well. While very young puppies had more regular access to food to support their growth, they quickly learned the connection between contribution and feeding as they matured. By the time they were integrated into working teams, they understood that their effort directly affected their rewards. Research into canine metabolism supports the wisdom of this approach. A study found that dogs fed based on activity levels maintained healthier weights and showed fewer metabolic issues than those fed the same amount regardless of exercise. The study concluded that varying food intake to match energy expenditure more closely mimics how dogs would naturally eat in the wild. For all its practical benefits, this feeding system wasn't just about efficiency. It reinforced the dog's sense of purpose and their place within both the pack and the broader community. The connection between work and reward created a natural motivation that required no external enforcement. But the Inuit understood something that modern society often forgets. A working dog's value went beyond constant activity. Hard work defined the lives of Inuit sled dogs, but equally important was their time for recovery. While these dogs earned their keep through effort, the Inuit also recognized the crucial value of proper rest, revealing a sophisticated understanding of canine physiology that modern science has only recently confirmed. After completing long journeys across ice and snow, Inuit handlers didn't immediately push their dogs into additional tasks. Instead, they allowed complete recovery periods where dogs could rest fully, repair muscle tissue, and regain their strength. This wasn't sentimentality. It was practical wisdom that ensured the longevity and sustained performance of these valuable working animals. The duration of rest periods was proportional to the work performed. A short journey might require only a brief recovery, while a multi-day expedition across difficult terrain would be followed by extended rest. The Inuit recognized that inadequate recovery led to diminished performance, increased risk of injury, and shortened working lives. Contrast this balanced approach with our current high-stimulation dog culture. A recent survey of urban dog owners found that 64% worry about their dogs being bored and consequently overschedule activities. Between daily walks, dog parks, training sessions, agility classes, and constant play, many modern dogs rarely experience true downtime. Many modern dog owners seem to believe their pets should maintain the activity schedule of a hyperactive kindergartner combined with the training regimen of an Olympic athlete. The resulting overstimulated, overtired dogs often display behavior problems misattributed to other causes. During rest periods, Inuit dogs weren't confined to crates or small spaces. They were typically allowed to select their resting spots within the boundaries of the camp. This freedom to choose where and how to rest enabled dogs to regulate their body temperature and comfort levels naturally. Some would dig shallow depressions in snow or ground, others would curl up near windbreaks, and still others might rest close to fellow pack members for warmth. The Inuit recognized different types of rest needs. Physical recovery after muscular exertion was one form, but mental decompression was equally valued. Dogs that had been navigating complex terrain or facing challenging weather conditions needed time to mentally reset just as much as they needed to physically recover. Research from canine sports medicine confirms the wisdom of this approach. Studies show that working dogs given adequate recovery periods maintain peak performance 30% longer than those with insufficient rest. Moreover, properly rested dogs exhibit lower stress hormone levels and show fewer signs of cognitive decline as they age. The modern doggy daycare model where dogs play for 8 straight hours would seem as bizarre to traditional Inuit handlers as suggesting humans should sprint continuously through their workday. Both scenarios ignore the fundamental biological need for rest cycles. Age-appropriate rest was another consideration in the Inuit approach. Young dogs, still developing their physical capabilities, receive more frequent rest periods, while experienced adult dogs in their prime might work for longer stretches between recoveries. Senior dogs were gradually given lighter duties and more rest, acknowledging their changing physical needs while still allowing them to contribute to their capacity. The respect for rest extended to how the dogs slept. Unlike modern pet dogs often awakened whenever their owners desire interaction, Inuit dogs were generally allowed to complete their sleep cycles naturally. This uninterrupted sleep contributed to better cognitive function, improved physical recovery, and more stable behavior. Benefits supported by recent research in canine sleep patterns. Dogs with disrupted sleep showed 87% more irritability and had measurably slower reaction times than well-rested dogs. The same research suggested that insufficient deep sleep can impact a dog's ability to learn and retain training. Insights the Inuit applied through observation long before formal research existed. Even breeding decisions reflected this understanding of rest needs. Dogs that recovered quickly from exertion and maintained consistent energy levels when properly rested were preferred as breeding stock over those that seemed perpetually tired or never settled down completely. This is selected for optimal energy management rather than just raw activity levels. The wisdom in how the Inuit balanced work and rest reveals a deeper truth about their relationship with their dogs. These weren't just tools to be used up and discarded, but valued partners whose well-being directly impacted the community's survival. This respect manifested in a holistic approach that honored both the dog's capacity for work and their need for recovery. For this balanced system to function effectively, the dogs needed clear guidance. Leadership wasn't optional in the Inuit dog team, it was essential for survival. Unlike the modern concept of being a pet parent who negotiates with their furry child, Inuit handlers embodied true pack leadership through consistent authority and clear direction. Every successful dog team relied on strong human leadership. The handler established unambiguous rules, maintained consistent boundaries, and projected an unwavering confidence that earned the dog's trust and respect. This wasn't about domination through fear, it was about providing the certainty and security that dogs naturally seek from their leaders. The consequences of weak leadership became immediately apparent in a working team. When a handler showed hesitation, inconsistency, or lack of confidence, the dogs quickly sensed this weakness. The resulting chaos could range from simple disobedience to dangerous situations where dogs made their own decisions based on instinct rather than direction. Groups led by handlers who scored high on leadership consistency metrics were 73% more effective at completing tasks than those with inconsistent leadership. More telling still, the dogs in consistently led teams showed significantly lower stress hormone levels, suggesting that clear leadership actually reduced anxiety rather than creating it. Some modern dog owners practice what could be called suggestion-based training. They make polite recommendations to their dogs and hope for the best. The Inuit approach recognized that dogs don't want uncertainty. They want clarity, consistency, and confidence from their human leaders. The physical stance and energy of the handler played a crucial role in establishing leadership. Inuit handlers stood tall, moved with purpose, and gave commands with a certainty that left no room for negotiation. Their energy remained calm but assertive, never frantic or anxious even in challenging situations. Voice control demonstrated this leadership principle perfectly. Commands were given in a firm, clear tone that projected authority without shouting. The expectation of compliance was embedded in the very sound of the handler's voice. Dogs responded to this calm confidence far more readily than to emotional pleas or repeated commands. In modern dog training, a concerning trend has emerged where owners give commands multiple times before expecting compliance. Research shows that dogs whose owners repeat commands an average of 4 times before enforcement show 300% more disobedience than those whose owners give each command exactly once. Watching some modern dog owners try to get their pets to come when called is like watching someone try to negotiate with a telemarketer. Lots of repeated phrases, increasing desperation, and rarely the desired outcome. The Inuit handler established respect through leadership that benefited both human and dog. Leadership extended to all aspects of the relationship. The handler always moved through doorways or narrow passages first. They controlled access to resources like food and resting spots. They initiated interactions rather than always being available on the dog's terms. These seemingly small details created a consistent leadership dynamic that the dogs understood and respected. When a dog challenged this leadership through disobedience, aggression, or testing boundaries, the response was immediate and appropriate to the situation. Corrections were fair, consistent, and clear, never emotional or excessive. This balanced approach created dogs that respected boundaries without becoming fearful. A fascinating aspect of Inuit leadership was how it adapted to changing conditions. During calm, routine situations, the leadership might appear more relaxed. During dangerous circumstances, it became more direct and intensive. This flexibility allowed the handler to match their leadership style to the requirements of the moment without undermining their overall authority. The leadership principles that guided Inuit dog handling created a foundation for everything else in the relationship. Without this clear authority, the training wouldn't stick, the pack structure would collapse, and the working relationship would break down. With it, dogs thrived in even the most challenging environments. This leadership approach prepared dogs for all aspects of their working lives. One of them is their sleeping arrangements. Despite Arctic temperatures that regularly plunged to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit, Inuit dogs didn't sleep indoors with heated beds or cozy blankets. They slept outside, exposed to the elements, relying on their natural adaptations for survival. This practice might seem harsh through a modern lens, but it actually honored the dog's remarkable biological design. Inuit sled dogs possessed physical adaptations specifically evolved for extreme cold. Their double coats featured dense, woolly undercoats that trapped warm air against their bodies, while longer guard hairs on top shed moisture and blocked wind. This natural insulation system worked far more effectively than any artificial coverings humans might provide. These cold-adapted dogs actually overheated easily when kept indoors. Their efficient metabolism and insulating coat, perfect for sub-zero conditions, became uncomfortable burdens in the relative warmth of human shelters. The outdoor sleeping arrangement wasn't a deprivation, but rather a recognition of what these dogs were built to handle. Modern dog owners bundling their huskies in fleece pajamas and heated beds is like putting a fish in a raincoat, completely missing the point of natural adaptations. The Inuit approach recognized and respected these dogs' incredible cold weather capabilities. The dogs employed several impressive techniques for staying warm. When temperatures dropped dangerously low, they would curl into tight balls, tucking their noses under their tails. This position minimized exposed surface area and created a pocket of warm air they could breathe, protecting sensitive nasal passages from frostbite. Perhaps most ingenious was their snow management. Rather than avoiding snow, the dogs actively utilized it as insulation. They would dig shallow depressions in the snow, creating what cold weather experts now call quinzhees, simple snow shelters that block wind and trap body heat. Temperature readings inside these snow beds can be as much as 30 degrees warmer than the surrounding air. A study examining the sleeping surface preferences of northern breed dogs found that when given choices between various bedding materials, 67% chose snow over man-made options when temperatures were below freezing. This natural preference highlights how well adapted these dogs were to their environment. Ever notice how a dog will spend 15 minutes circling, pawing, and rearranging their plush memory foam bed? That's not pickiness, it's an ancient instinct preparing a survival shelter, now performed on an expensive dog bed in a climate-controlled living room. Inuit dogs applied these same instincts to create genuinely functional shelters in the snow. The outdoor sleeping arrangement contributed to the dog's hardiness. Temperature fluctuations stimulated their metabolism and immune responses, creating more resilient animals than those kept in artificially stable environments. Dogs exposed to natural seasonal temperature variations develop more robust immune systems than those kept in temperature-controlled environments year-round. Sleep quality didn't suffer despite these seemingly challenging conditions. Observations of outdoor sleeping sled dogs show they achieve deeper REM sleep than their indoor counterparts, likely because the conditions match their biological design. Traditional sled dogs spent 23% more time in restorative deep sleep phases when sleeping outdoors in cold weather compared to when they were brought indoors. While outdoor sleeping was the norm, there were exceptions. Dogs that were ill, elderly, or recovering from injury might be brought into shelters temporarily. Nursing mothers with young puppies would also receive special accommodation during the earliest weeks of the puppies' lives. These exceptions weren't sentimentality, but practical measures to ensure the survival of vulnerable pack members. The self-reliance and resilience developed through natural sleeping arrangements prepared dogs for their vital role in the community's survival, a role that depended not just on individual strength, but on something even more powerful. While each dog possessed remarkable capabilities, their effectiveness multiplied exponentially when working as a coordinated unit. This teamwork wasn't accidental. It was deliberately cultivated through careful selection, positioning, and training. A typical Inuit dog team consisted of 6 to 12 dogs arranged in specific formations based on their skills and temperaments. The configuration wasn't random but strategically designed to maximize efficiency. Lead dogs positioned at the front possessed exceptional intelligence, directional awareness, and command responsiveness. Swing dogs behind them helped steer the team around corners. Team dogs in the middle provided steady power for long journeys. Wheel dogs nearest the sled required strength and stability to control the sled's momentum. This specialized arrangement created a system where each dog contributed its particular strengths while compensating for others' limitations. A survey of traditional dog teams found that properly positioned dogs worked 45% more efficiently than those placed in mismatched positions. The Inuit handlers recognized this long before efficiency studies confirmed their wisdom. Modern dog sports often feature one dog performing tricks while others wait their turn, like a canine talent show. Inuit sled dogs operated more like an orchestra, each playing different notes but creating one magnificent symphony of motion. The result was a harmonious blend of individual effort, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Communication between team members proved crucial to this coordination. Dogs weren't simply responding to human commands, but actively communicating with each other through subtle body language, ear positions, and vocal signals. A lead dog might detect thin ice and subtly shift direction, causing a chain reaction of adjustments through the entire team before the human handler even notices the danger. Synchronization of pace and effort represented another remarkable aspect of teamwork. Dogs learned to match their stride and pulling power to maintain consistent speed and direction. This harmonization didn't happen automatically, but developed through hours of working together. Studies of established sled teams show their members eventually synchronize heart rates and breathing patterns during work, creating a biological rhythm that enhances endurance. Unlike the independent nature of many modern dog activities, Inuit dogs learned to rely on each other. Each understood that survival depended not on individual heroics, but on sustained cooperation. This interdependence created strong bonds between team members who spent every aspect of life together, working, resting, eating, and navigating challenges as a unified group. If you've ever tried to get three friends to agree on a restaurant choice, you'll appreciate the miracle of 8 dogs voluntarily pulling in exactly the same direction for hours on end. This coordination didn't happen by accident, but through careful selection for compatible temperaments and consistent reinforcement of cooperative behaviors. The positioning within teams changed as dogs aged and developed different strengths. A young, energetic dog might start in a team position, then graduate to swing or lead positions as it gained experience and demonstrated appropriate skills. Older dogs might move from lead positions back to team or wheel positions where their wisdom and steadiness remained valuable even as their speed diminished. This dynamic arrangement maintained optimal team performance while honoring each dog's changing capabilities. Conflict resolution within teams followed clear protocols. Minor disagreements between dogs were generally allowed to resolve naturally according to established hierarchy. Major conflicts that might disrupt team function received immediate intervention from handlers. This balance created teams that could work through small issues independently while maintaining overall cohesion. Training for teamwork began early. Puppies observed veteran teams at work, absorbing the patterns and expectations long before they joined a working team. Young dogs often received their first harness experience alongside steady, experienced dogs who modeled appropriate behavior and pace. This apprenticeship system created seamless integration of new team members without disrupting overall function. The most successful teams developed almost telepathic coordination. After years working together, they anticipated each other's movements and adjusted automatically to changing conditions. A study of established sled teams found they made an average of 67 micro-adjustments per minute to maintain optimal formation. Most so subtle human observers couldn't detect them. This teamwork didn't eliminate individual personality, but channeled it toward collective purpose. The cooperative focus fostered through teamwork created dogs that weren't merely obedient, but genuinely invested in the success of the group, a quality that extended beyond work to every aspect of their relationship with humans and each other. Behind this remarkable coordination lay something deeper than training techniques or working methods. It reflected a fundamental philosophy about the relationship between humans and dogs. At the heart of the Inuit relationship with their dogs lay a paradox that modern pet owners often struggle to grasp. These essential working animals received little pampering but enjoyed deep respect. The foundation of this relationship wasn't emotional indulgence, but a mutual understanding built on clear expectations and genuine appreciation. Inuit dogs never experienced the excessive praise, constant treats, or babying common in modern pet relationships. They didn't have monogram beds, Halloween costumes, or birthday parties with special doggy cakes. The relationship lacked sentimentality, but contained something far more valuable: authentic respect based on recognized contribution. This respect manifested in several concrete ways. First, Inuit handlers acknowledged their dogs' physical capabilities without imposing unrealistic expectations. They understood what their dogs could achieve and didn't demand the impossible. When extreme weather made travel hazardous, handlers didn't force their teams to continue, but respected the natural limitations of even the strongest dogs. Second, dogs received fair treatment according to consistent rules. Unlike the unpredictable relationships many modern dogs navigate, where jumping on furniture might be acceptable Monday but punishable Tuesday, Inuit dogs operated within a framework of reliable expectations. This consistency demonstrated respect for their intelligence and ability to learn. Modern dog owners often mistake sentimentality for respect. My dog understands English perfectly and knows exactly what I'm saying. He just chooses to ignore me when I tell him to stop eating the sofa cushions. The Inuit approach recognized that true respect means acknowledging a dog's nature rather than projecting human characteristics onto them. Third, handlers entrusted their dogs with genuine responsibility. When a lead dog made navigation decisions in difficult terrain, the handler didn't micromanage but trusted the dog's instincts and experience. This delegation of meaningful tasks acknowledged the dog's capabilities in ways that random tricks for treats never could. A study examining working dog satisfaction, measured through stress hormone levels and behavioral indicators, found that dogs given real responsibility showed 72% higher contentment scores than those asked to perform meaningless tasks repeatedly. The responsibility granted to Inuit dogs satisfied deep psychological needs for purpose and competence. Fourth, the relationship included freedom appropriate to each dog's reliability. Proven dogs often enjoyed greater liberty around camps, with handlers confident they would respond when needed rather than requiring constant control. This earned trust represented a profound form of respect rarely experienced by even the most pampered modern pets. The average suburban dog today lives under stricter surveillance than international spies, tracked by GPS collars, monitored by treat dispensing cameras, and followed into the yard to ensure their bathroom activities proceed according to schedule. Inuit dogs enjoyed the dignity of appropriate autonomy based on demonstrated trustworthiness. Fifth, handlers acknowledged individual temperaments and preferences. They noted which dogs worked better in certain positions, which preferred particular running partners, and which exhibited special skills like ice assessment or predator detection. These observations weren't sentimental projections, but practical recognitions of individual traits that contributed to team success. Perhaps most importantly, the respect between Inuit handlers and their dogs flowed both ways. Through consistent leadership and fair treatment, handlers earned their dogs' respect in return. This mutual regard created working partnerships with remarkable longevity and effectiveness. Historical records document Inuit dog teams maintaining operational excellence for 8 to 10 years, significantly longer than many modern working dog units that experience frequent personnel changes and relationship disruptions. This respect-based approach yielded practical benefits beyond work performance. Dogs raised with clear boundaries and genuine responsibility displayed 64% fewer behavioral problems than those raised with inconsistent expectations, according to comparative studies of working versus companion dogs. The clarity of the relationship created psychological stability that excessive indulgence cannot provide. The bond between Inuit handlers and dogs wasn't built on treats, praise, or artificial stimulation, but through shared challenges, mutual dependence, and accumulated trust. These dogs faced blizzards, thin ice, and food scarcity alongside their human partners. Such experiences forged connections deeper than those created by any amount of coddling or material comfort. An elder from an Inuit community explained this relationship eloquently. "The dogs are never pets as you understand it. They are partners. We respect them for what they are, not what we wish them to be." This fundamental distinction reveals the essence of the Inuit approach to dogs. While modern owners often express love through indulgence, the Inuit expressed respect through purpose. Every aspect of the dogs' lives, from breeding to training to daily care, reinforced their essential role in the community. This wasn't mere sentiment, but recognition of a profound truth. These dogs found fulfillment not through pampering, but through meaningful contribution. The respect-based relationship prepared dogs perfectly for their working lives by providing them with something every creature needs for genuine well-being. The final and perhaps most profound aspect of Inuit dog management was remarkably simple. Every dog had a job to do. In traditional Inuit communities, there were no pet dogs kept solely for companionship or amusement. Each animal served a specific function that contributed directly to community survival. This purpose-driven existence fulfilled something fundamental in canine psychology that luxury items and indulgence never could. Dogs evolved as working partners to humans over thousands of years, with their brains developing to crave productive activity and meaningful contribution. The Inuit approach tapped directly into this hardwired need. Most obviously, dogs pulled sleds, transporting people, supplies, and hunting equipment across vast Arctic expanses. This wasn't occasional activity, but regular, meaningful work that directly tied to community welfare. A well-functioning dog team could cover over 70 miles in a single day, making possible hunting trips, trading journeys, and social connections that sustained life in the harsh northern environment. Beyond transportation, dogs served as hunting partners. Some specialized in sealing, standing motionless for hours at breathing holes, then alerting hunters when seals surfaced. Others excelled at polar bear detection, using their superior sense of smell to warn of approaching bears long before humans could detect them. These specialized roles leverage natural canine abilities while providing essential protection and food acquisition. Modern dogs with anxiety issues often get prescribed medication and therapy. Inuit dogs got prescribed jobs, and mysteriously, the anxiety disappeared. This observation isn't meant to trivialize genuine canine behavioral health concerns, but highlights how purposeful activity often prevents such issues from developing in the first place. Some dogs serve primarily as camp guardians, alerting to approaching strangers or predators. Others specialized in finding safe travel routes across dangerous ice. Each role carried genuine responsibility with real consequences. Success or failure mattered in ways that winning a ribbon at a dog show never could. The impact of this purposeful existence on canine psychology proved profound. A comparative study examining working dogs versus companion-only dogs found that those with regular, meaningful work showed 82% fewer stress-related behaviors and 63% lower rates of depression indicators. The satisfaction of purpose appears hardwired into canine psychology. Young dogs learn their purpose through graduated responsibilities. Puppies might first carry small packs during short walks, then progress to limited pulling tasks, and eventually join full working teams. This progression provided appropriate challenges at each developmental stage while building confidence through successfully completed tasks. The modern equivalent would be asking your dog to carry the TV remote from the coffee table to the couch, then celebrating this job as though the fate of civilization depended on it. The contrast between meaningful work and manufactured tasks reveals why many modern dogs seem perpetually unsatisfied despite endless toys and activities. The variety of roles available meant that dogs with different temperaments and abilities could all find appropriate purposes. A dog without the speed for lead sledding might excel at camp guarding. One without the patience for seal hunting might demonstrate remarkable endurance on long journeys. This matching of individual traits to appropriate tasks created a system where every dog could succeed in some capacity. Evidence suggests the dogs recognized and took pride in their work. Behavioral observations documented distinct changes in demeanor when working dogs were harnessed for their tasks. Increased alertness, improved posture, and visible eagerness to begin. These weren't animals dragging themselves reluctantly to work, but beings engaging enthusiastically with their purpose. A fascinating experiment conducted with modern working breed dogs found that when given a choice between performing a job with no food reward or receiving food without working, 74% chose the work option. This suggests that the opportunity to fulfill purpose may be as rewarding to dogs as physical treats, sometimes more so. The absence of boredom in working Inuit dogs stands in stark contrast to the epidemic of boredom-related behaviors in modern pet dogs. Destructive chewing, excessive barking, neurotic licking, and other problem behaviors often stem directly from lack of purpose. Studies show that dogs left alone without meaningful activity for more than 8 hours daily are 300% more likely to develop behavior problems than those with regular purposeful tasks. Dogs in traditional Inuit communities rarely exhibited these boredom behaviors. With regular work patterns, clear expectations, and genuine contribution to community welfare, their mental and physical needs aligned in ways that created naturally balanced behavior. Even during weather conditions that prevented travel, these dogs had internalized enough purpose and self-regulation to remain calm and collected. Perhaps most importantly, purpose created connection, both to humans and to the community as a whole. Dogs with jobs weren't isolated entertainment units, but integral parts of the social fabric. Their contribution was visible, acknowledged, and genuinely needed. This integration satisfied the deeply social nature of dogs in ways that occasional trips to dog parks never could. The legacy of this purpose-driven approach offers valuable insights for modern dog owners seeking deeper, more satisfying relationships with their canine companions. While few families rely on dogs for survival today, the fundamental psychological needs of dogs remain unchanged. Finding ways to provide genuine, meaningful tasks, even in a modern context, may be the key to happier, more fulfilled dogs. These 10 Inuit practices, from purposeful breeding to meaningful work, offer a holistic vision of dog-human partnership based not on sentimentality, but on mutual respect, clear communication, and shared purpose. Together, they created dogs that were healthy, stable, and profoundly connected to the humans who depended on them.